weeks where he's got a couple of bags.
Umpires Brett Rosebery, Chris Camelons and Simon Meredith. Good crowd in here at the Sydney Cricket Ground and a perfect bounce to start it.
Kirk straight onto Prittis with the first possession.
And gave it straight back to him. So Prittis actually gets the real first possession, or the clearance at least. Lewis Roberts Thompson, not to be confused with Lewis Stevenson, who's playing in his first game for the West Coast Eagles. Running the outer side is Jack. Sends it inside 50. Bradshaw forced to punch from behind. Jude Bolton, Spanger get there, but Spanger content to take it across the line deliberately, but not obviously, and it's on early between a couple of them, including Jesse White.
Well, Kieran Jack got the early possession, and his old man, as we all know, Gary, was talking to you, Jason, prior to the match, a legend of rugby league. Yep. But Kieran Jack has been one of the stories of the Swans this season. His form has been quite superb.
It has, and he's developed into much more than just a stopping player as well. He's added an attacking string to his bow.
Umpires made a statement there as Lacroix takes the mark. Kirk was hanging on to Prittis, so the umpire's just letting Brett Kirk know he's already over the line of acceptability. Cox.
And that Nui to full forward. Cox, as you can see, on the wing with the ball in hand.
I think they'll alternate regularly to try and unsettle the Sydney lineup.
Kennedy, and there's two Josh Kennedys out there today. Not sure when the last time that happened, but it's probably never happened. Rosa takes the mark inside 50 for the West Coast.
Big year for Matt Rosa. He's, I think, got to start to see himself as a senior player, not just a developing young player. It's time he delivered most weeks.
He has the opportunity as a 23-year-old now. From the boundary, Naitanui gets the jump and almost had it already. Now Chesky, that's the excitement machine we talked about. Even when he jumps and doesn't mark it, it's exciting. Grundy gives it back to the other Josh Kennedy, unless he thinks he's the Josh Kennedy and the other one's the other one. Outer side again, O'Keefe is away, and they've got space.
Look at Goods running.
Short, and he has dominated the West Coast in recent times. Best on ground, 3 Brownlow votes last year when these two teams met, and that was a thriller.
Ryan O'Keefe will be loving this. If he's going to be given that much latitude, he'll have 30 possessions.
Waters did brilliantly there. They were both wrestling each other, so that was the licence to keep wrestling because the umpire wasn't going to pay a free. Maston punched away from him by Moore, and it stayed in play, although it's now bounced out. There's your instructions. I hope you can hear that at home from the umpires, letting everybody know not to hold. Cox and Seaby, his old teammate. Mattner got it out. O'Keefe thumps it high. Bradshaw's under this. White flies, knocked it on. Jude Bolton half held. Crowd thought he deserved the free kick, and it's turned over. That wasn't 15 though. Goods tried to claim it. Gave it, don't argue, and now it's ball of all things.
Well, it was only 4 or 5 metres. Even Adam, I think if he saw that, would believe he made a mistake trying to claim the mark because the umpire was all over it.
When you know it's definitely not 15, do you deserve a prior opportunity still or not?
Well, you get a prior opportunity no matter whether you know it or not.
Do you deserve a little bit extra, Jared?
No.
Okay. Short, and Lacroix comes up to take the mark on the wing. Shorter again, Josh Kennedy. You saw earlier, tossed the coin for game number 50. Sends it long to Naitanui and cut off in front by Mark Seaby.
Just looking at the matchup now, Jason, on Ryan O'Keefe. It's Andrew Embley. He's going to try and get forward as well, so this is going to be a very tactically important matchup.
Seaby plays on almost into trouble. Malcheski gets him out of it. O'Keefe.
Way too much latitude. They are holding positions, though, rather than minding men at this stage, it appears.
Set up a little and doing well was Grundy. In fact, he's done well all year.
Well, the runner just went past Andrew Embley. We'll follow him and see what the message may have been.
Sure, wide to Goods. Spanger with the job on Goods at the moment.
That's a massive job too.
Sure, who ran on with possession. Too far out to score, knows it. Jack probably too far out to score as well. Bradshaw to the pocket in his direction, too wide. And Bradshaw can't keep it alive to get a ball in. There's been a fantastic pickup, Daniel Bradshaw. Still blames Michael Voss for moving him on. Still a little upset about it, but he's playing some good footy, so doesn't necessarily have to worry about it. Prittis caught by Kirk. Ebert also caught and dumped by Kennedy. Goods, look out. Goods tucked into the flank. gives it off. McVeigh from the pocket. Closed. You said during the week to Daniel Bradshaw that as soon as he found out that Vossi had put him on the trade table, that was the end of their trust and the end of their relationship as coach and player. They'd played together, of course, and Bradshaw thought when the loyalty was gone, he was quite prepared to move.
Good old-fashioned huddle being implemented here by the West Coast Eagles, trying to work a player free, and they've done that successfully.
We spoke pre-match about the fact that Adam Goodes has had 8 Brownlow votes out of a possible 9 in the last 3. Well, he started the match in very good fashion. But the job that Spanger has to do on him is going to be an extraordinary one.
Cox wide. Kennelly forced to punch from 4 deep. Hanbury bumped off it. Jones tried to flick a little possession out in Brown's direction. And we'll get a ball in. Daniel Hanbury, who's been in outstanding form as well, an Rising Star nominee, ahead of Nick Natanui this year in round 2 before Nick Natanui got his nomination last round, and a genuine contender as well, according to many. McVeigh spears this to Bradshaw, perfection.
Once again, Ryan O'Keefe, it's not into him his man, it appears, but he is just getting way too much space, and he was the one who effectively kick-started that thrust to have the ball now land with Daniel Bradshaw.
11 goals, 6 this season, Daniel Bradshaw. 12 goals, 6, and the Sydney Swans get the first goal of the afternoon.
Well, if West Coast allow Jared McVeigh to have that much time and space when he wins a clearance to deliver the footy, they're going to be in all sorts of trouble. A terrific tap down from Cox. He got it down to the space he was looking for, but the on-ballers didn't capitalise on it, and it was McVeigh that took the ball away from the clearance. And have a look at that. It doesn't matter who's fullback. You get a lead straight up the corridor in a low pass like that. There's very little a defender can do. Good work inside from Ryan O'Keefe once again.
The big mummy onto the ground, interchange, quick interchange. He's had a good start to the career at a new club.
Yes, some say he doubled his pay by moving, but he's more than doubled his opportunity. That's the big thing for his career. Kirk gets the clearance. Bouncing ball at half forward. Moore, nice collect. Read that well. Bradshaw on the move. Got it again. He's playing against one of the best fullbacks of the modern era, but he is beating him in the early stages of this one.
Exciting start for Sydney and for Bradshaw. And you mentioned Mumford just coming on. It must have been a real tough decision when they said, we'll play you every week and pay you double. Probably not a tough choice to make in the end, but he's certainly thriving on it, as is this man here in Sydney.
Started that a little left and bends it back nicely. He's got 2. He's got the only 2.
Well, Jared Moore has settled in pretty well to Sydney, but I don't know if he's had too many better kicks than the one he has just produced here. This is an absolute gem. He breaks wide, kicks it over the top of the first offering, and finds Daniel Bradshaw on a lead, which was just superb football. He, in fact, almost orchestrated that whole movement. I don't think Bradshaw was coming until he realised that the ball was coming towards him.
And there is Jared Moore on the first game of Lewis Stevenson. And Daniel Bradshaw and Darren Glass.
No better feeling for a forward than getting a couple of early ones on the board, particularly against a quality opponent.
Embley can't get the clearance. Does get a free. Scott Selwood did get the kick away, but it wasn't to advantage necessarily, and the advantage rule in the main season is up to the umpires, not the players.
There's the wind down there, Colby. It appears to be favouring the Swans end slightly.
A little bit to the right, Jared, yep.
Heads long over the head of Lacroix. There's that wind slightly. Mumford, he overran it. Lacroix back in. Grundy dumps him. O'Keefe through Cox. Got the arms free. Gave it to Prittis. His kick across the face. He might have meant it. Good opportunity here for Hands. Gets it. Spins. Kicks around the body. And scraped it in. Ashton Hands. First goal in AFL footy.
Well, it's a classic small forwards goal, an opportunist goal. I'm pretty sure the kick from Prittis was actually a shot for goal that came off the outside of his right boot, like a lot of left footers, not a natural right foot kicker. He's trying to screw it around and just caught the ball right in the middle. But look at the recovery. He bounces up after hitting the deck a lot quicker than Reece Shaw does, and then on the left boot hooks it over the shoulder. That's a terrific goal out of just a half opportunity. It was the the fact of bouncing up so quickly that set up the time and space for him.
Just gain number 2 for Ashton Hams. West Coast on the board.
He looked a natural, just moved into the space, burnt the handball on the right, which he should have done. It was good coming into the corridor, opened up the goal face.
Waters wide. Malcheski read that well. Been back in good form. Nick Malcheski. Jetta. The live wire for the Swans in those beautiful lime boots.
Pretty handy having a Jetta on the bench and Daniel Hanbury also starting. Ryan O'Keefe off. And he's been replaced by Jack.
Guess the bench players having an impact already. Ashton Hams did start on the bench as well for the West Coast, so came on, kicked a goal. Waters gets back and takes good mark. 13 plays 6, being cautious at the moment. Thumps it wide. Malcheski with the fist. Tackle laid. Ashton Hams didn't receive a free kick. Shaw did somehow get rid of it. Not sure how Shaw got rid of it, but the umpire gave him the benefit of the doubt. We'll get a ball up.
With Goods going deeper into the forward line, looks like Schofield is now the man that's got the job on him. He's had 3 early touches, Adam Goods. Shaw and O'Keefe leading the way with 4 apiece.
Prentice into the back of Kirk that time. You heard the umpire high.
On a small ground like this, Jason, I get the feeling that LaCroix may be well served by giving him a fair bit of run through the middle of the ground. He's going to be crowded and compressed in that forward line on the Sydney cricket ground, and he's such a fantastic midfielder. He may just need to push up to get into the game.
I'm just sure if the smaller ground allows them to make 15 metres, just 14 metres, but that looked a very short kick between Jetta and Kirk as the ball's shuffled out of play.
The only problem with that, Jared, the only problem I would see with that is you're robbing Peter to play Paul, because he's such a dynamic goal kicker for them. He's the best mid-sized forward going around. From the opportunities that he gets, he's unbelievable the way he turns them into goals.
I get the feeling, though, on this ground, he's going to kick your goals playing midfield as well. Can't imagine he's going to be of enormous value if he's playing in the defensive 50, but centre forward, which he's playing probably at the present time. I'm sure he's got licence to run up the ground. He's got to do that from a defensive perspective as well. But you're right, he's such an uncanny goal kicker. He's a good value wherever he is.
Selwood, boundary line, umpire getting out of the way. Selwood takes it along the chalk. Rosa content to take it out. West Coast have picked a more running side for the SCG. They're a tall side, as the guys have been telling you. Haven't really got that run going just yet. Mumford to his own advantage and now to his disadvantage. Scott Selwood in there making a contest of it. And a few stalemates in the last 4 or 5 minutes. The West Coast might have some problems early here at the SCG. Not played here for 5 years, the West Coast Eagles, and not won here for 11 years.
It's one thing to pick a running side, Dwayne, but they've got to get their hands on the ball to use it. It's 30 possessions to 17 at the moment, 2-1 in favour of Sydney.
Jack straight to Adam Selwood, just thumps it long. Hams, the little guy, thought he was going to have to do the leaper. In the end, Jack, in the direction of Grundy, gives to Jetta, who tries to use some shoe, does a little bit. Inside, Jack gives it. Hanbury uses his speed, and nicely. Centering kick. Bradshaw on the move, got a hand to it. Off hands, Kennedy does well. Slick. Gave it up to Smith. He couldn't find a target with it. Prentice put Glass under pressure. No free kick. This is better stuff. Hard and tough and tight. Inside 50 from Jack. Players cannoned over. Goods tries to run through. He's knocked off it. Andel loses it. Thumped away from White. Chance here for Selwood. Gives it wide. Little chip kick is toward Hams from Dalziel. And he gets the free, having an arm slap.
Not much to kick to. There's no run and spread for the Eagles. That's why he's had to pull up and try and run around a player.
And pokes it to Brown, who got there. Mitch Brown. Stagnant again. Shortish and McGinnity.
Well, the two key forwards have got plenty of space, and here comes LaCroix on the lead.
Will he get there? He does, and plucked it. No, just out of play. Some hands to it. Embley, the man that he jumped on. 13 plays 6. pensive crowd at the moment. Nat Nui from behind Mumford knocked it down, almost a throw by Ebert, but said to be okay. Dalziel centering kick. Ashton Ham's little target again. Scott Silwood to full forward. Cox almost dragged off that. LRT did well. Lewis Roberts-Thompson almost bear hugged him and got away with it and gets a possession for his trouble. Got it from Malcheski. Gives to Craig Bolton. Back to Malcheski. Back to LRT. Sends it wide. One-on-one. Mattler with the reach. Embley reached in. Toe poked away. O'Keefe. Smith. They're away. Adam Goods in a one-on-one. He's got Schofield on him at the moment. Schofield keeps his feet. Well played and tapped away by Goods. Cleverness.
Oh, that was unlucky, Adam Goods. He actually backed off. He didn't try to tackle him, but he found himself facing the bent over head of Schofield and couldn't do much about it. He strips the ball here as he tries to step inside. He just gets a slap in on the footy, and then he actually tries to back away and not tackle him when the head's down.
Waters thought about heading wide, but the man he was thinking of going to, Glass, had his back turned. Spanger. Look away handball doesn't always work. White, he gave it up. Jude Bolton gave it up. McVeigh, he should drill that. Rolls it home all the way. Swans get their third.
And you know the reason it's called a look away handball? Because the coach sees it and immediately looks away. This was one of the all-time great shocking handballs, unfortunately, because it has set them up at a time where we're in a very much a stalemate. They have just allowed the Swans to put a little break on them, and a nice conversion there by McVeigh.
Jared McVeigh, we talk about the rivalry between these two, but he was unlucky. Did not play in the Premiership in 2005 against the West Coast, but did play in the losing grand final against them for the Swans. So ultimate unlucky double for him. Free kick again from the middle, in the back, and it's going Pritis' way.
A magnificent bounce, perfectly straight up, and it was won by Nat Nui, and I suspect the more accurate the bounce, the more dominant he is going to be.
McGinnity bangs it long and high. Brown's down there, big fly. Ashton Hams had it for a second, just ran past it. Craig Bolton, Roberts-Thompson ducked into that tackle. Umpire was wise to it. Kennedy got a kick away. Rosa reaches in, played for the free initially, didn't get it, so Whitten got the ball. Gets it out, O'Keefe, no prior opportunity. Caught by Maston. Rosa in there, Pritis, whistle. Kirk never far away from Pritis. Finally, the P spins.
Well, they had about 3 half chances to get possession away into space there, the Eagles, as did the Swans, but the Eagles just aren't grabbing their half opportunities.
Nat Nui didn't get a kick away, took it out of the ruck, didn't get a kick away, and that sometimes constitutes a free kick. Goods tapped away from him, out of play. It should constitute a free kick.
It should be a free kick every time. Absolutely, Dwayne. Straight up. You see him here, he pushes a couple out of the way, then grabs it out of the ruck. That is a free kick every time.
Be nice if he gets those concessions all his career. Josh Kennedy to Shaw. White came at it well.
Good body use, Jesse White.
O'Keefe, and now Bradshaw is in position A here. Bradshaw, good reach from Glass over the top. And Glass content to take it across the line. Swans fans knew it was deliberate, but didn't make it obvious.
It's a good spoil, isn't it? Just backing away from Bradshaw so he couldn't use the body and getting a run and jump over the top.
Seaby and Nat Nui went at it. O'Keefe had it but lost it. Adam Selwood shoots the handball out wide. Rosa, well, he kicked it straight to Goods. And he's half dragged it in, but they've dragged it under him and gets the benefit of the doubt from umpire Chris Cameron's. Ball up.
Sort of thing that Rosa's just got to get out of his game. It was a fumble. Ball was hand delivered to him, and he's effectively given it straight back.
How's that for a flick from Nat Nui? Got it to Ebert, but he couldn't get a kick away. O'Keefe couldn't get a handball away. Dalziel likewise can't get away. Ball up.
Thank you.
Paul Roos coaching from the dugout again today, as he likes to do. Nat Nui and Seaby went at it again. Ebert trying to shuffle it out. Josh Kennedy of the Sydney variety. So yet another stalemate. The umpire trying to get them to get it out by just continually screaming, play on. No result. Seaby, 102 games for the West Coast, including their premiership, against his old team for the first time against Natanui. And the next big thing, knocks it all the way towards Rosa. Shaw's with him. They tie up. Shaw a toe poke. Back to the man we were talking about. Seaby tried to find Jetta with a handball. Jetta caught, got it up. Hanbury, O'Keefe. And that's a little too wide for everybody, bar the boundary umpire, out of play on the full.
Interesting watching the Brett Kirk, Matt Priddis match up the last few minutes, Jared. Brett Kirk, he's experienced, he's battle hardened, he's got smarts, he's following Priddis, but when the ball was at half forward, he went and sat in an attacking place in the hole and made Priddis come away from the contest and act as a defender to pick him up.
First kick for the first game of Stevenson along the wing. Gathered though by O'Keefe, sends it back in the direction of Goods, can't mark. Bradshaw runs into Schofield. Jude Bolton, dangerous position if he can keep it alive, and he does. Waters cuts it off. Around the body, terrible. Moore can't mark it. Off hands, spinning around Jack. Kick smothered. Stevenson, poised from the first gamer. Hearn back into the team this week, and be happy to have him back. Kicks toward the wing and a free kick against Smith. It'll go to Lacroix.
That's a great smother from Scott Selwood. I reckon 80% of players would have been sold on the left foot as dummy, and yet he was still good enough to knock it to ground and save the goal.
Lacroix straight to Shaw, who could have got 50 there. Then the umpire yelled play on, and then he went back, and then he did play on. Malcheski, Goods, he had the sit but didn't want to fly then for some reason. Toe poke from Adam Goods. Moore collects. They've got him. Jude Bolton tackled and dispossessed. And Maston content to find the boundary. No. Has to be ultra obvious now for them to pay it.
Well, I think he was handballing to a voice, but might have been that bloke in the crowd just said.
Is that your default? Natanui again doing the ruck walk, and again wins it. Fists it down a wee bit. Tucked into the boundary. Rolls it along the line. O'Keefe having an influence. Josh Kennedy centering kick, perfection again inside 50, and Seaby gets a chance to kick a goal against his old team.
Wouldn't he enjoy that, in particular in front of the new young gun in Nick Natanui? He'd love to play an important part in a big Sydney win today, Mark Seaby.
Well, he's only 25 years of age. I guess he probably took 2 years longer than I thought he would to make the decision to move. He was pretty clearly down the line. And yet, even last year, I think he was holding on to a hope that he could have fought his way back. Well, the recruitment of Natanui probably sealed his fate. And he's going to still hopefully have a long career, but he's going to have to improve some aspects of his game.
Yeah, he was up for trade year after year and decided to stay. Ended up being traded for pick 22. Adam Goods having a rest for the Swans. 23 minutes gone, opening term. Stevenson thumps a long ball. Kennedy and Roberts-Thompson. Ball to the back. Brown attacked it well, but so did Shaw. Dragged down. They both go to ground. Ball caught between them. Ball up.
Gee, it's a big job for the first gamer, Lewis Henderson, at the moment. He's trying to keep up with Ryan O'Keefe and just can't go. Lewis Stevenson, I should say. Henderson, my apologies.
Kennelly, been a good recruit for them again this year to come, well, home if you like, after going back to Ireland for 1 year. Win himself an All-Ireland medal. Give them that run again off half-back. Ball up. Natanui with the reach. Malcheski to the man we're speaking of. Kennelly with that run off half-back. Throws it over the top. Matner. Shaw. A little too wide for Bradshaw. And Glass taps it away. Some brilliance there. Jones back to Glass. Heads inside. Gets the kick away just in time. Embley thumps a long ball. Kennedy's down there. Should go. Does go and marks it.
Great courage.
That was brilliant.
I think he had the help of Lacroix calling him in. It was almost as if he was waiting for the call, and once he heard it, went that extra bit harder because he knew that his teammate wasn't going to go.
Yeah, it was a conscious decision. You can see definitely he committed himself and said, all right, I'm going all the way. And but credit to Craig Bolton as well, coming the other way. There's always the opportunity, if you wanted to absolutely destroy a bloke running back with the flight of the footy like that, but couldn't get there in time.
Big kick this for Josh Kennedy. Game number 50, as we said. Part of the 25-minute mark of this opening term. Here to pull this margin back and drills it with 3 minutes left to quarter time.
They're important goals, ones like that, because they just keep you in touch. The Eagles are getting, I reckon, well beaten at the present time around the ground, and yet they are only a goal and a bit down, 8 points down. I think that's a pretty good result for a side, Jason, that to me hasn't got anywhere near close to playing good footy yet.
No, they've been outplayed. 3 goals to 2 is a fantastic result. They're still in the contest, and funnily enough, these two teams always find a way to be in the contest regardless of form.
Good sporting stock as well. Josh Kennedy, father Jamie played NBL with the Canberra Cannons, and his mum also played in the WNBL, Jenny, with the Canberra Capitals.
Goods into the middle with Selwood.
And Beau Waters now on Ryan O'Keefe. Ryan O'Keefe's had 11 possessions in the first term. Clearly the leading possession getter on the ground.
Cox gets his own clearance. Scott Selwood shoots it wide. Race on. Brown gets there first. Capped it to his own advantage, but caught, tried to manufacture a kick. I'll get away with it, the Swans.
Got to work better to retain some footy inside that forward 50. The Eagles, it's come out so quickly. Their backs are going to be under too much pressure.
Get a ball in on the outer side. Players can see 26 minutes gone on the clock. They'll know there's not long left. Hasn't been a huge scoring quarter, 3 goals to 2. The crowd still hushed. Yet to find full voice. A free in the ruck. In fact, it's off the ball again. It goes to Priddis. Brett Kirk holding his arm again. No Taggers Day. Rosa, he wants to go long. LaCroix, and that's his bread and butter. Just that quick lead, straight down the corridor, and if the pass is good enough, he won't let you down.
Yeah, he was very disappointed, Craig Bolton, because he wasn't even in the play at any stage then, Mark LaCroix, until Rosa turned back into the corridor and looked right. And I think Craig Bolton thought he had a bit of time and space up his sleeve, and all of a sudden the kick changed direction very quickly and virtually drew LaCroix into it.
Very accurate, 10 goals, 3 so far this season. And a behind could have pulled the margin back to 2 points.
It was really damaging stuff from Rosa, though. That's his strength. If he can continue to build on those and minimise some of his weaknesses, he's still going to be a long-term player, hopefully, for the Eagles.
Grundy gets it from Ty Kennelly. Hugs the boundary. Bradshaw's the target, all the way up to the wing, flies. Mumford thought it was his.
Great
More.
hands.
Matner looked in, saw Adam Goods running and gave it straight to him. He finds McVeigh. Open forward line. Jetta leads short. That's ignored. Bradshaw peeling back. Jude Bolton might be the man. He backs back. Hands off to Shaw. And can't make sure.
That's a bad miss.
It's a terrible miss.
Still, once again, good running off that half-back line. It's a great strength for the Swans. They haven't made the Eagles pay, which could hurt them down the track.
Cox wide. Adam Selwood hugs the boundary. Ashton Hams, good pluck. Little guy got up then. Pops it inside to LaCroix. Well, he sounds like a small goods company. Ashton Hams is small and he looks like he's got the goods. That was a spectacular piece of play. The hands and then the foot.
Yeah, we've already seen a small forward in Hayden Ballantyne burst on the scene for Freo, and all of a sudden it looks like West Coast might have found a similar type of player. Lively, bounces around, reads the play well, quick, electrifying.
For a 2-point ball game, he's already had a sider, Mark LaCroix, and it hasn't made it. Not many other players would have touched it, bar Shane Mumford, and maybe the West Coast should have had a taller man on the line.
Exactly. There was no pressure on Mumford. He just stood on the line and put the hands up. No one working him body on body.
14 seconds left. Maybe not enough time for a Swans score, but if they turn this over, certainly enough time for the Eagles to capitalise.
Interesting way the Eagles manned the mark for the kick out. They didn't actually have somebody minding the man, as in directly out in front of the 10-metre box. They had one either side.
Cautious start in some ways for both teams that have got such a fantastic rivalry in recent years, and it's tight as you would expect. Round 5, Anzac round, and it's the Swans 3-3-21. The West Coast 2-2-14 at quarter time.
And also Adam Goods, Jared. It's really whoever's the best size and shape near them that takes them, and they're not really going with any lockdown run with rolls.
We saw this a couple of weeks ago when Adam Selwood played on Mark Harvey. Here's Selwood getting the ball forward, but he in many ways is responsible for O'Keefe when he gets near him.
Kennedy thumps that long. He goes all the way himself. Only behind.
But he's clearly got licence to get his own ball as well. Now he's getting plenty of it as well. 7.
O'Keefe's got 11.
Dangerous man to be going head-to-head with Ryan O'Keefe.
He'll knock up getting it all day.
Yep.
He's just a running machine, Ryan O'Keefe.
It's not just Adam Selwood either. They are rotating around whoever's responsible.
Yep.
It's almost like who's in the area.
As I said, the youngster, even Lewis Stevenson's had a run on him. There's a learning curve for a first game. Go and run around with Ryan O'Keefe for a while. You'll certainly learn something.
Yeah, first gamer against a 191 game player, Ryan O'Keefe.
Here he is again. He's just on the outside of almost the zone, and it's Jones picking him up.
Here Jones has had a go. Hearn's another one that's had a go. Waters has had a go.
Free kick to Kieran Jack this time. So they've been pulling a few off the ball. Play on as the West Coast get numbers back. Moore or White, and Spanger's fist beats Jesse White. He hasn't been sparkling this year, although he has got a contender for Mark of the Year in the bank. Took that ripper last week. Mumford and Cox. Tie up. Cox rips it out of the air after using the body well. Ball bounced unkindly for Kennelly. Lacroix dragged out. Didn't have it. Didn't get the free. Malcheski thumps it back, and McVeigh, well, this will hurt if he kicks it from there.
Mark Lacroix got up and looked at the umpire with incredulity in his face. He just could not believe that he wasn't paid a free kick for being dragged off the footy.
And McVeigh has been, I guess, the majority of the time going head-to-head with Selwood. But he too was also getting some footy.
Wouldn't this hurt if he kicked a miracle goal from here after that?
Absolutely. Kick one in the opening term. And he bends that a little, and there's not enough Swans on the line to contest that genuinely with Cox, who takes the mark to Ebert. Hands it off Dalziel. Run down from behind. He's quick, Jetta.
It didn't look to be a great call from Ebert either after he hand-passed the ball. I mean, you've got to let your teammates know, and Brad Dalziel probably needed to have better awareness, but geez, Lewis Jetta running down quick.
He could give this off, Lewis Jetta. He's had, this is game number 5, he's had 4 shots at goal for 4 behinds, so he's yet to kick one in his young AFL career.
You don't kick your first by giving them off all the time.
That's a good point you make, Jared. He looks confident. Runs to 48. And he just misses to the near side.
Let's have a look at this Mark Lacroix free kick. Does he get dragged off it by Craig Bolton? I suspect when you've got your arms around him, you're entitled to a free kick.
He's got the handball over the top, but he's not allowed a handball.
Hearn long, and Dalziel, who was run down by Jetta, now has Jetta on the mark. You would presume he won't take him on this time.
We might also, Dwayne, have to check the record books and just find out who's kicked the most behinds before they've kicked their first goal in league footy.
It'd be a lovely record to have, of course, wouldn't it? Mumford.
Wonder what sort of number we're talking about.
This comes from a guy who, of course, is second all-time with 17 goals in one game, if you can't believe that. Jason Dunstall. Mumford collects it half back. Jude Bolton to Grundy. 17 goals, 5 from memory too, Jason. It was a fairly accurate day. Roberts Thompson heads wide. Jesse White.
Once again, no real defensive pressure coming out of their forward line, the West Coast. It's an area, I reckon, that's
major concern.
Major problem for them and a big discrepancy between both sides.
Confirm it for us. It was against Richmond, was it? 17-5?
It was.
Thank you. Quite a few of our listeners and watchers doing some jobs in the kitchen or floating around the lounge room. Didn't necessarily see how good the two in the box here were. Schofield sends it long.
Very few of that old, Dwayne.
And Grundy gets back. We've got a Brownlow medalist from the Sydney Swans, of course, Jared Healy here as well. The royalty back home. Shaw sends it wide.
So we've got to sort this forward line out, Jason. It kicks into 4 or 5 Swans players to 1 or 2. Just killing them.
Craig Bolton back. Kennelly.
It's the first time there's been some good defensive pressure, really forcing them to second-guess themselves coming out. But look at that kick.
Jetta to O'Keefe. Dumps it long. Adam Goods in a good spot. Hands to it. Clever spoil in the end from Schofield. Hearn. Now they can make them pay on the rebound. Embley can go. Needs to hit a target. It's a long target that he wants. Josh Kennedy's down there. Off hands. Jetta just moved past him. Shaw tackled. Brought down by hands. And a good tackle too. Mumford. He dives in and gives to Jetta and he puts the Jets on. He is away. Sold a dummy and then sends it long towards Moore. Peeling back. Body use. Brilliant. Runs for 50. He could go all the way here. Goods is in the goal square. That'll do. Can't mark it. Gets the free. And
we nearly played on. Nearly played on there.
We'll be on an angle here. It'll make it a little tougher.
He's normally pretty good at these, Adam Goods, though. He'll just bounce out on the right side and kick it around the corner. You can see Darren Glass trying to get as close as he can on the side of the mark to stop that from happening.
That's what he has ahead of him. He's in Brownlow contention again this year after a best on ground game last week. Adam Goods. Well, he made the goal umpire dance, but it's there.
Did it well, Adam Goods. He actually didn't kick it around the corner, but as he came in on his run-up, he just marginally increased the angle. He just cribbed in a little bit to widen the space between the posts and kick the normal drop punt. I think he was having a shot for goal, Jared Moore. No doubt about that as he was steaming in, but nearly played on after the free kick was paid too. You can see a definite free kick as the arms were taken out. Oh, he thought about it.
.28 plays 15, 13-point margin.
Well, Nat Nui has had plenty of taps, but as yet we haven't seen what's made him famous, and that's his agility, getting his own taps and getting clearances himself. Hasn't had a kick yet.
Almost got one there. Was caught. McVeigh got it from Kirk. Wobbles it beautifully to Bradshaw. He wobbled that deliberately off the outside of his boot. Almost changed his kick after dropping the ball. Saw Bradshaw on the lead.
It's good work to strip Nat Nui from the footy and then get the clearance, and it was an uncontested clearance in the finish.
For number 3 for Daniel Bradshaw. It's a wobbly kick from his boot as well.
I reckon that's the tougher end to kick them at, though. I think they're kicking into the breeze a little bit there, and it is swirling around here at the SCG.
Lewis Jetta having a rest. Western Australian viewers would know him well. Played with Swan Districts in the Waffle last year. Lewis Jetta. It's 21 next month. Adam Goods takes the mark.
Too easy.
Pokes it inside 50 and well, it wasn't intended for O'Keefe, but O'Keefe gets it.
At some stage in the coach's box, you've got to hear the alarm bells and say, this bloke's coming in for possession number 14, lining up the goal. He's going to have 40 if we don't get someone to go and pay serious attention to him.
Well, they've been very true to the zone defence, and yet I don't think they're on top of it just at the present time. They were, when the ball gets switched over, there's too many holes, and O'Keefe may make them pay with this one.
To make it 20 points. Pushes it across the face. So they're staying in it by the skin of their teeth at the moment, the West Coast Eagles. Sydney 4 goals 6. Could easily be 7 goals 3, if not worse. Hearn thumps this all the way to the wing. Nice to have his boot on the SCG. Seaby away from Nat Nui. Maston was caught before he got that. Rosa, Pritis. One-on-ones ahead, has to pick one. Picks Brown, can't mark. Roberts Thompson, Josh Kennedy Bradshaw's on the move. McVeigh spears him.
That is a sensational kick, Jared McVeigh.
Well, the kick going into Brown had to be.
It's the wrong spot to kick it, Jared, at the SCG. If you're kicking to a high leading half forward in the corridor and it doesn't hit the target, the rebound's going to do exactly what Jared McVeigh just did and deliver to a leading forward at the other end very quickly.
Yeah, there was just great support by the Swans. They'd closed in on that kick. And he has bent his leg further than Daniel Bradshaw than I've ever seen him bend his leg.
They're struggling with that breeze at that end.
Well, it's their ground. Not that they've trained here all that much. Paul Roos on the bench. Craig Bolton looks like he's about to come on. We might check with Lee Colbert. Lee.
He just came off the ground about 5 minutes ago, Craig Bolton. Had his left hand strapped after that tackle on Lacra in the middle of the ground. Just hurt himself.
At the moment, the only thing that's keeping the Eagles in the game is the Swans' poor goal kick. It's certainly not anything to do with the Eagles' good play that's keeping them within 2 or 3 goals.
Pritis. Schofield gets the kick away, but gobbled up by Kennelly.
And that is just an unthinking kick. And they went out in about 1985.
Yeah, but you said prior to the game, Jared, you've got one of the best kicking efficiency teams in Sydney at the moment against one of the worst, and that's exactly what the Eagles are doing. They're missing targets, poor decision-making and poor execution of skills.
It's going to be the focus of, no doubt, of their recruiting, and that is good decision-makers stroke good kicks.
Yep. Because
they are about 5 or 6 short at the present time of the top side.
Bradshaw again. Jude Bolton weighted that kick perfectly.
Dwayne, some of the kicks that Bradshaw is getting are first rate. They're quality kicks that are actually forcing him to go to the space that the ball's about to drop in, and it's always to his advantage in the contest. They're adapting to his style of play very well, the Sydney midfielders.
Just the point on the kicking, it brings me back to Mark Lacra. I don't think they can sit and wait for Lacra to get on the end of them. I think he's got to be pushed up the ground to become a creator.
From the paint to the 50. Not bad. Brings it back a little, not enough. And thump through for a behind. So 2 goals, 3 for Daniel Bradshaw. Here's Craig Bolton's injury that Lee Colbert was talking about. Hurt a hand in this.
Yeah, you can see the grimace on his face as well. I reckon Lacra's their best midfielder. I know he doesn't play there often, Jason. In fact, he's probably only played there 3 or 4 times. But I've seen him up the middle of the ground, and if he was in a top-line side, I'm sure that's where he'd be playing.
Matt Spanger down the wing. Ebert hands it off, but he put Rosa under too much pressure. Crowd want a ball. Canterbury gets ball. Gives to Jack. Hands to Kirk. Thumps it inboard. Hoping for anybody really to keep it alive. McGinnity dumped and stripped by Josh Kennedy. Back to Hanbury. Goods with a look-away handball. That one worked. Now Chesky's didn't though. Turnover. Ebert floats it towards Brown. Roberts Thompson over the top. Into his back. But all fist on ball. Lacra gathered. Dragged down. Craig Bolton just back on. Tried to get it out. Jude Bolton does. Seabee. And now Matnick can run. He was corralled. And now Chesky has that space to run. Thumps a long ball. Glass will need to get back. If not Hearn. Ball bounces past both of them. Bradshaw tried to shoot it out. Does roll out in O'Keefe's direction. Spanger caught him, but he got the arms free. Moore to full forward. Goods is down there, and Cox with the reach. 17 points the margin. West Coast Eagles have not scored a goal this term.
Even Cox, he's another one of their midfielders that's almost missing at the present time. He's had 6 possessions to date. When Cox is on fire, he'd be up to the 14-15s by half-time.
Absolutely. Hasn't wound up this year at all, has he? That's almost a free to Josh Kennedy from Grundy there. It was over the shoulder a little, but obviously not a lot. Kennelly.
Oh, out to the wing.
So Craig Bolton heads wide. O'Keefe can get and go here.
With no one around him.
Scott Selwood makes the contest and almost forces him to give it up to Mumford.
Nice, don't argue.
He refuses to give it up to Mumford. He was a bit too tall, the big man, for O'Keefe to have the confidence to go to him.
The good thing about this for the West Coast is they're just 2 minutes of good footy away from being close to the lead.
Absolutely, or maybe one lucky free. Grundy sends it wide. Hanbury pokes it. Jetta with the reach and the cleverness. Embley with the tackle. Forced the handball. Now Chesky, Embley, brilliant tackle again. Now, did he have prior opportunity there? The umpire said no.
Good second effort from Embley. Put the pressure on Jetta and then was back into the contest. Let's have a look at this particular one.
His prior opportunity when he attempts to defend?
No, I would have thought that was a fair decision from the umpire, but he had control of it.
from the ball up. Jude Bolton back. Ty Kennelly backtracks. Runs the wing and gets it off just in time to Kirk as he was tackled. Hanbury bumped. Ball stayed alive for a second and then he's put out. Umpire telling
It's interesting.
Mark Lacroix,
Hey,
don't do it.
Mark Lacroix, stop that.
That's a good sign if you get that from the umpire. It means you've done everything you can possibly do
Without
up to the point of giving away a free kick. Jude Bolton. Waters almost stole it from him. McVeigh, Craig Bolton, O'Keefe, they're all getting a piece of it. Grundy, little slip, opens up the door. And O'Keefe tries to wobble this toward Hanbury and does it brilliantly.
He hasn't really had too much of it, Hanbury. Rose has got responsibility at the moment for him, and he's done a pretty good job tightening up given the amount of footy the Swans have had.
Called to play on, no one to go to. They really have shut it down, the West Coast. In fact, that kick's been completely shut down by Rosa on the mark. Ball in.
18 possessions now for Ryan O'Keefe. Next best on the ground is Nick Malcheski with 12. Only one in double figures for the Eagles is Matty Prittis with 10.
15 minutes gone. Second term. Mumford throws that down. Josh Kennedy turns it over. O'Keefe, not 15, and it was almost in the West Coast direction. Rosa, Nat Nui gets a chance here. Handball is to Maston and good. Wrapped up by Jude Bolton, one of the best tacklers in the Swans unit. Ball out of play. In fact, a free kick to Jude Bolton because he went for the boundary there with the handball.
Not sure how he was supposed to handball it anywhere else. Look at the direction he's going in. How's he supposed to flip that over his head to keep it in play?
Jude gives it back. Dalziel inboard. Hearn caught. Handball. Lacroix needs to find somebody. Finds Embley who drops it through Nat Nui's legs. It's just not their day at the moment, the West Coast. Grundy to McVeigh. Nat Nui pursues. Forces a little error. Forces a big error here. Matner throws it out. Waters ties it up in the pocket. Extracts it. McVeigh, Kennelly. And they had everybody come to them, so now they've got the space. Kennelly sends it long. Bouncing ball. Little toe poke clever from Jack. Rolls it inside 50. Goes after it. Stevenson, the first gamer. Jack gets it. Gives it up. Hanbury, you said we haven't seen much of him yet. Don't see him here. Ebert gives it back. And well played, Lewis Stevenson. First gamer, showed some poise. And Cox has it at half back.
Dwayne, you said it's not the Eagles' day. I'd probably put forward a different point of view. It is their day because against most other sides, there's this much footy, they'd be 10 goals down.
There might be more down here if Goods can collect this. Grundy's kick a little wide. Schofield, good contest that. Schofield and Goods is hurt from the Hearn bump. And he's not getting up in a hurry.
And it's amazing how quickly it can turn around, Jason. If the Eagles can just find a bit of football around the contest and get it into their forward line.
If they could hit a target, they do themselves a massive favour.
Cox over the shoulder of Mumford there. And Mumford the free.
Big recruit, this one. Boom recruit, young kid. Lots of years to go. Steve Torbett likes when he gets a talented apprentice like this to work with.
Tied up on the 50. Josh Kennedy not going anywhere. We'll get a ball up.
Steve Torbett, of course, has been a long-term ruck coach here in the Swans.
Shane Mumford, just 23 years of age, playing game number 26. And the ball up. Cox goes at it with Mumford again. Embley thumps it wide. Race on, but the boundary line will win that race. Shaw can't get there in time. And we'll get a ball in with 18 minutes gone on the clock. Second term. It's been a tentative West Coast, a cautious West Coast in many respects. But as Gerard said, just 17 points the margin. 5 good minutes away from making this a contest again. Ebert. Maston. Embley. And he can't take possession. Inside 50, Waters can. Runs to 30, surely.
Well, the game certainly hasn't risen to any great heights, but we keep saying it. They've only got to straighten up a couple of kicks and they're in this. Mind you, Sydney have let them off the hook because they've made some mistakes in front of goal as well. But there's a game here up for grabs and Sydney don't want to put West Coast away and West Coast don't want to do what it takes just to get themselves back in at the moment. It's a little bit of a status quo.
Nick Smith back in to the team this week. First game for 2010 for Nick Smith. It's game number 14 for him. finds Grundy.
12 inside 50s to 7 in this quarter. Which means Lacroix's had 7 opportunities when the ball's around him. I'm trying to make a case here if you hadn't picked up on it, Brian.
Seaby takes the mark on the wing. The crowd finds some voice, some applause. Goods. And that's a mark. Millimetres from the turf. West Coast getting numbers back. Adam Goods realises it. He wants the 1-2 and works it well with Kennelly. Wobbles it inside 50. Matner thumped away from him. Jack dances his way through a tackle. Hands off. Jude Bolton should drill it. And does. Again, the goal umpire did some dancing, but they lead by 22.
I'll just put that down to the persistence and the determination of Kieran Jack. He's a beauty.
He keeps his feet every time.
Yep, and he just stays over the ball.
Yep.
And he does a fantastic little spin that gets it out in the path of Jude Bolton. He's up against a couple of opponents. The kick comes in. He's looking for a free kick, the Sydney player. But have a look at this. He's in heavy traffic, but he manages to get the ball cleanly, turn it back to where his support is before he goes to ground.
Jude Bolton now one of the top 8 Sydney Swan, South Melbourne players of all time. Game 238 today. He passes Bob Skilton's 237 game tally today. It's a fair name to be passing, but he's in that kind of company now. Ebert, short. Kennedy, mauled, no free. Lacroix stayed on his feet, hoping it would pop out, and O'Keefe collects to Grundy, Malcheski, Matner. Shoots it wide. Hanbury, bouncing ball. Waits for it to pop up. Caught. Handballs it straight to Embley, who lets it roll through his legs. Dives back in to mop up his own mess. Does it. Gets it to Rosa. Looks up and sends it long. Goal square. Cox is down there. Roberts, Thompson, Brown, Cox. Dragged down, no Pryor. Got it up to Kennelly, though. And Malcheski can relieve the pressure. Short. McVeigh, a half volley. And collects it, though, and inboard they have got the space and the runner in Jack. Bradshaw leads back to the goal square. Jack could go all the way. Runs to 49. Sends the drop punt goalward. Sensational!
Well, it's taken an individual effort by Kieran Jack, Jason, to get the crowd involved.
And in the space of a minute and a half, they've almost put the game to bed, haven't they? It's been waiting for something to happen, where the West Coast have come back in and really challenged Sydney, whether they'd open up. It was the hand pass from halfback that came from Nick Malcheski that opened up the corridor for Kieran Jack. And almost by accident, he found himself continuing to bounce. He thought, well, no one's coming at me. I'll keep going.
Well, we know he's the son of rugby league legend Gary Jack. He's got 2 younger brothers, Reece and Brandon. One playing in the NRL at the moment, and the other wants to be an AFL star as well. I think he's about 16 years of age at the moment, so look out. There could be another on the way to the Swans. Seaby, a little toe poke out of the middle. Nat Nui, that's what we came for. Gives off to Pritis. Instant reply coming up.
Brilliant response by Nicholas Nat-Nui. That was his first possession, and it resulted in a goal. In fact, it was his second handball, and it's resulted in a goal. Pritis on the end of it. I know that Lee Colbert was talking about winning the rucks. Well, winning the rucks is not determined by hit-outs. Hit-outs to advantage maybe, but influence around the ground, absolutely. And there it is, the Swans ruckman winning, and yet it was this man showing his great athleticism that sets up the goal.
First goal of the year for Matt Pritis. They're back in it. Big 4 minutes coming up to half-time. 22 points the margin. Nat Nui in the ruck. Against him, Seaby. Nat Nui high. Got a palm down. Not decisive. Get another ball up. Then Cox off the ground, maybe for this entire 4 minutes. Pritis tried to get on the end of the Nat Nui. Palm down again. Kirk steals the takeaway. Hearn tracks it down. Had it, lost it, got it. Moore's got him and didn't dispose of it legally. Dead.
Well, he had the prior opportunity, and then it was no disposal.
Might have rolled the ankle here. He's limping heavily.
So be ready for a handball, you'd think. Well, there's no one there for him to give it to.
Still hobbling.
He's within range though, Jason. If you're anything can help your injury, it's the opportunity of a shot, but clearly it wasn't all that flash.
McVeigh all on the opening terming board, and they've worked this pretty well. Mattner's drifted down, and Marty Mattner can kick a straight ball. Game 149 for Marty Mattner, so a mini milestone next week with game 150. 98 games for the Crows, of course. Dropped late in 07 by Neil Craig, which was the final straw. Still had a year of his contract to go, but sought the trade, and they were happy to give it to him. And the Swans were very happy to welcome Marty Mattner. 28 points the margin.
Well, I thought it was a bit sloppy by the Eagles. They're set up in a zone, but zones are an excuse to, I guess, blame somebody else at times, Jason. When they're not working well, you lose accountability and you become stationary. This sort of zone, you just got to be up on your man or anticipate a little bit more quickly. And they're just not working cohesively, the Eagles, at the present time. They're working as individuals, not as a team.
.50 plays 22. 3 minutes from half-time. Nat Nui in the ruck. Seaby up against him. Nat Nui again wins the palm down, but they don't win the clearance. Kennedy, McVeigh shoots it back. Nat Nui might win his own.
Oh,
he collects, kicks inboard. Excitement back again at the SCG. Selwood, he collects, wobbles it towards the pocket. Roberts Thompson, LaCroix almost. And the crowd finds some voice again. The sideshow Bob. 50 plays 22. Can he pull it out of the ruck here, Nat Nui? Seaby with him. Palm down. Jetta. McGinnity dragged off that. Didn't have it. Umpire didn't want anything of it. Now Chesky gives it to O'Keefe. Rolls it through Maston. Grundy tracks him down. Maston collects. Handball to the pocket. Ashton hands. Already kicked one. He centres this one. Nat Nui caught behind. And done for holding Seaby's ball.
Well, they
McVeigh. And Kennelly takes it in the end. And he holds it up. Puts his hand up. And Jetta still hurt. So they're a man down at the moment, the Swans, with Jetta in the hands of trainers. Rosa, Goods, and does well.
got to get it
Rosa.
in quick. Get it in quick before they get numbers back.
Got trainers in the hole at the moment, the Swans. Throws it long. Tough ball to mark. Almost, not quite Josh Kennedy. Malcheski, Jetta, and suddenly he's up. Gets a kick away. Jones, he lets it slip through his fingers and then gives a soft free away to Moore.
That's a bad fumble. They had 3-on-1, West Coast. All he had to do was take it cleanly and shoot a hand pass off, and he has a teammate having a shot for goal. But the fumble allows Moore to get the ball, and then he doubles up and gives away the free kick.
Kennelly, dangerous but solid. Craig Bolton.
Hard to believe there used to be an unwritten rule in football.
Don't kick across the face of goal.
Correct. And if you did,
now,
even as late as the early 80s.
It's nearly compulsory now. You must kick across goal.
Nick Smith to Kennelly. He sends it long. Jesse White on the move. Can't half volley it. He gathers though. Runs to 50.
Oh.
He can sniff one. Has a bounce. Gives it to Goods, who just throws it on the boot in hope. And getting back is Spanger.
Got confused, Jesse White. He's more interested in having a bounce than turning around and having a shot from inside 50, which he could have done.
Dalziel to Jones. More on the mark. Down to 30 seconds. Waters. He's got one-on-ones wherever he looks. He has to pick one. Heads to Dalziel.
You want to get it in the hands of the bloke running past, because he's one of their best kicks off half-back, and he's about to get it, you expect. Shannon Hearn.
Stevenson will give it to him. First gamer looks up, sizes it up, gives it to Hearn. They need a mark here to get a late score. Diving for it. LaCroix! It was his until it wasn't. He would have had the last shot of the half. And that's been the tale of their day, the West Coast.
Yep.
Maybe. Free kick in this ruck contest. And there it is.
Cool.
Cox gets it. It was the only thing that could have led to a score. There was not enough time for a tap down and a snap. But there's always enough time for a free. And Dean Cox, in some respects, has momentum in his hands here. He kicks this. They go in with some momentum and some hope, and the door wide open. He misses this, and it would deflate everybody.
It's the loudest we've heard the crowd today.
Not bad off the boot.
Great kick.
They're still in it, and it took the big man to give them hope. 22 points the margin, and the West Coast Eagles players get together knowing this one is not done yet. Sydney 7-8-50, the West Coast 4-4-28. Starting on the bench for the West Coast, Nick Natanui in the ruck.
If it's going to be another tight contest, Wayne, they've got to get the right start here, the Eagles. They've got to...
Oh, Nick Nat, he waited to blow his whistle there, the umpire, and didn't blow it to rebounce it until Nick Natanui took it out of the ruck. So he throws it in the air. The re-ball up.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles go man on man rather than the zone, because they can't go any worse than they did in the first half by going man on man. I know it's probably resorting to olden day techniques, Jason, but when you've got a lot of young kids as they've got in, I reckon that maybe it's a better way of going. And right now it looks like Scott Selwood has got the job on McVeigh.
And Brett Jones on Ryan O'Keefe.
Speaking of Brett Jones, tied up by McVeigh, going nowhere.
Jared McVeigh's had enough of it in the first quarter to warrant himself a much tighter tag. Looks like man on man to me, Jason. I think we'll see that. A much tighter brand of footy from the Eagles.
Rosa inside 50. Malcheski takes the mark on Ashton Hams in game number 2. Ashton Hams has been okay so far. Seaby gets there for the contest. In fact, he takes his man out of it, Dalziel, and allows Shaw to get and go. Short. Jack looked around, knew it was his ball, takes the mark. Goods.
Can't do much to defend passes like that. No. Went about 3 foot off the ground all the way.
Yeah.
Now he's probably got whatever breeze there is coming over his shoulder out of Goods if he wants to give it a ride, but again, they just back their foot skills, don't they?
Well, McVeigh is going to kick from exactly the same distance out, from 50.
Slightly better angle, but that's about the only improvement.
That's about it, yes. But the angle doesn't matter if he can't get the distance. McVeigh might fancy his chances here. He has kicked one, and he kicked it to this end in the opening term, so he has had a sighter.
He's also had it 15 times, Wayne.
Gets it some air. Breeze catches it, sends it long, but not long enough. Off hands. Nearly an opportunity for Brett Kirk behind. 23 points the margin. Hearn quickly from defence. Rosa. They missed a lot of targets in the opening half, the West Coast Eagles. And that's made them a little more cautious. Sends it wide. Roberts Thompson takes the pack down and allows Ty Kennelly to feed back onto it. McVeigh, who was the man who had the shot moments ago, gets back and gets a touch here to Grundy. He's got Mattner appealing for him. Sees that option now. Mattner still moves hard. Craig Bolton will get it. Mattner still peeling for him. But in essence, he's opening up space for everybody else as well. And to use that space straight down the middle, Josh Kennedy. That's a big thump. Moore might have to go for this. Dives, almost plucks it.
Good tackle.
Brilliant tackle. Comes out to Jones. Tucked into the goal line. Ashton Hams over the top. Bounce okay for Ebert. And he can relieve the pressure. Needs to hit Josh Kennedy. That's a better pass. And could be 50. No.
Just having a look at Nick Natanui, and I'd ask you to follow him a little bit, Jason. We know he's athletically so gifted. When the ball stops, he's going to be a freak, but actually trying to find it when it's in play looks as if it's going to take a fair bit of time. He hasn't got a huge engine. He's going to work on that. He's also got to make himself dangerous when the West Coast have got the ball, not at stoppages.
No, and that's what they've been working with him at training, with the technology they use on the training track of
mobile phones.
Having the mobile phones or receptors there so they can talk to him about where to run and how to put himself in the contest.
Matner takes on Lacroix, feeds back. Lacroix just bumps him on the kick. Hearn under this, flies, uses the big fist. Dalziel, not a lot to go to. Inboard, Rosa. Trying to get some confidence back to West Coast. Hearn straight down the middle. Ebert, can he hit a target again? Embley was half held up forward.
Was more than half held, Dwayne. Good call.
And Grundy thumps it away, but Embley should collect this. Got Josh Kennedy in the pocket, and he was pushed on the kick by Malcheski. Turnover. Grundy to goods. Here go the Swans. Mark Seavey enjoying his first game against his old team. Nat Nui comes at him, forces the spoil and forces the turnover. Waters on the rebound. Can they make something of it? No, Embley, he waited for that, and Grundy attacked it. Swans again on the way forward. Bradshaw and Spanger. Spanger forced Bradshaw to spoil. Jones tucked up against the line. Waters caught. Hearn back again. Dalziel needs to hit this target. It's Rosa, and he does hit it
up the middle. I mean, once again, that kick, I think it was Waters going along the wing. It just had way too much hang time, and the Swans half-backs have been picking off these kicks into attack at will.
That was dangerous again there. Scott Selwood stood and waited for the ball. You've got to go and meet it.
Yep, Selwood to Selwood there. It was like a backyard kick. Pity their mum wasn't the Octo mum. Would have been great for footy. Down the outer side, Spanger. Wobbles it towards half forward.
This is dreadful.
It is. Kennedy makes it look okay. Gives it up. Schofield. Play on advantage. Schofield can go for goal. No one in the square. All about the bounce. And it's unkind to the West Coast, as most pieces of luck have been today.
Well, there's a couple of passages there that just highlight the problems they are facing West Coast in terms of efficiency.
Just
disposing
really
the ball
is reiterating
by foot is dreadful.
One of the modern day truisms, and that is if you can't kick, eventually
you can't play. But at least if they're going to make those mistakes, make them taking risks, make them attack, play on it all the time, and at least give yourself a chance to actually put yourself in attacking positions rather than just try and play possession pinpoint footy.
Well, that was a bit of a blue there by Andrew Embley. He thought it was going to be his kick because it hadn't been touched, but clearly the boundary umpire thought the Swans got a fingernail on it.
The ball in. Good opportunity here for the West Coast. Roberts Thompson had it. Kirk gives it up. Matner gives it back again. Jones runs into Matner trying to make amends. Adam Selwood from the boundary kicks it, but misses. Another behind. 21 points the margin.
Just again, we'll have a look at the zone. You see the Eagles have got a bloke on either side of the square, whereas the Swans have a player, just one, where effectively the umpire is sitting. They don't want this fellow to play on at any stage. This is, I think, probably specific to the Sydney Swans, because they have their fullbacks love kicking to themselves and playing on, the likes of Reece Shaw and Kennelly.
Malcheski, that's a dangerous kick wide, and comes off the thigh of Jesse White. It's okay. We'll get a ball in. 21 points as it stands right now. Nat Nui to do the ruck work. Seavey stands with him. Feel for each other. They lock up. Seavey front spot. Nat Nui likes to come from behind. Jack gathers. Scott Selwood almost cuts it off. Hanbury had it but lost it. Maston. Nat Nui caught. Got a handball up and dragged down, and now he's over it. Gets the benefit of the doubt. Does Nick Natanui.
Once again, at just 19 points, Dwayne. One quick goal to the Eagles, and they're back within sniffing distance.
Absolutely. Hearn throws it over the top to Embley. Good opportunity here. Short passes on. Lacroix. Arm slap. Surely he has got nothing today. As if his arm was dragged down to me.
Although he's up and about, he didn't actually complain about the umpire's decision. He might have brushed his head, I think, the spoiling arm from
and just hand
Craig
on the
Bolton.
arm on the way down.
Looked sore again when he landed, Craig Bolton.
Seen that played before. Kirk ducked your head, play on. O'Keefe, Craig Bolton hands it over.
Must get it out. Must get it out.
Must get it out. You heard Matner's over it. He hasn't got it out yet. Okay, umpire can ball it up then.
You called Ryan O'Keefe in that last contest, and we see Bolton limping off. He hurt himself in that spoil. Have a look at the grimace as he lands. I think he's carrying something, and that just did not help it at all. He's in a lot of pain. But Brett Jones has done a good job the first 8 minutes of this third term. Ryan O'Keefe's had one hand pass.
Yeah, they're playing much better footy. They've just got more accountable. The zone's not their cup of tea just at the moment.
The difficulty now, though, is how do you out-scrap them by the tune of 4 goals.
Cox, who started this half on the bench, palms down, and Adam Selwood wins the free for over the shoulder.
Just starting to work in their favour, though, with Bolton off the ground. Leaves them one of their very best defenders free.
Lecras
going to get a free kick today.
No, I don't think he is. Dalziel gives it up. Maston tries to don't argue, throws it back out. Dean Cox kicked the goal before half-time, doesn't kick this one here. Jesse White spent it before he earned it. Dalziel back to Spanger. He had it, tried to don't argue and lost it.
This is when the Swans are at their most dangerous. Fast break. Bradshaw will go into some space.
And should roll in his favour here. Glass is with him. Ties it up.
Oh, did well, guys.
Yeah, superb. Jones feeds it wide. Lewis Stevenson, the first gamer, sends it wider. Adam Selwood. They've got space to use.
Kennedy on the lead.
Can he hit him? Good kick. Kennedy should get there. Does.
Well, the work rate's up, the Eagles. You've got to give them credit.
50 metres. So Kennedy will have a shot from 25 out.
Is that Brett Kirk? Hanbury.
Okay, so you heard the umpire, Daniel Hanbury, ran through the mark. Huge kick this for Josh Kennedy. Kick one to this end in the opening term.
You've just got to kick these. You cannot afford to miss those.
Professional footballers should be straight over the goal umpire's hat, and it sort of is, but they are sort of back in it.
Well, despite all their inadequacies of the first half, they have come out in this third quarter, Jason, playing much different footy, and they've lulled the Swans into a little bit of a false sense of security. And if they don't rebound, all of a sudden, what we see so often in footy, when you don't put a side away when you get a chance in the first half, they may have a bit of a scare on their hands.
You can see Brett Kirk running beside the mark, but he didn't cross. It was actually the youngster Daniel Hanbury that did.
Josh Kennedy just plants a seed of hope. Second goal for him. Margin 15. Pensive crowd again here at the SCG. Cox in the ruck and he's fresh. Mumford rises. Both got a piece of it. Critis handballs it out. Jack tracks it down. Ducked into that. So no free and no prior opportunity. Good decision. Ball up.
Definitely giving them a lift though. West Coast go out and play one-on-one. John Worsfold has said, and it's certainly inching their way back into the contest.
And maybe a man down.
Marston's move on to Jared McVeigh. Kirk still with Critis.
Clearance important here. Schofield got it out the hands. Waters. McGinnity around the body. Stevenson did well. Forced a contest. Waters caught. Almost throws that out. Critis. Centering kick okay. Lecras. Manhandled. Got it. Lost it. Gets a kick away. Heads it toward the goal square. Roberts, Thompson and Kennedy was there. Cox dives in. No free for too high. Kennedy backs himself up. O'Keefe, Mumford,
much
turnover.
Yep.
Fantastic pressure. Brown dives in. Tries to knock it out to Kennedy. He can't get it out. Roberts, Thompson over the top of him. Crowd bomb ball. They're not going to get it over.
You can't.
Oh, boy.
He didn't have control of the footy under there. It was in different hands.
He was caught behind.
Locked in
behind players.
Lewis Roberts Thompson. They've been a little bit unlucky. They've been a little bit unlucky, the Eagles.
That said, we've got a contest now because the Eagles have decided to have a crack in their forward line by way of pressure. Can they maintain it?
Sure. Had a bounce, got a handball away just in time. McGinnity attacked it. So too Jude Bolton. Opportunity again arises. McGinnity thumps it back. Lecras from 4 deep. Crashes the pack. Bounce kindly for Malcheski.
Sorry, Malcheski, he did brilliantly there. Kept Lecras out of it and ended up with the footy.
Kennelly long. Kieran Jack, there's a big collision here. Spanger's down. We know he's got sore shoulders. And Jesse White makes it hurt even more.
Well, Kieran Jack just did it all there. He went hardest at the footy. He won it, got it going forward, and saw the Swans just with their second opportunity, I think this quarter inside 50, produce a goal. And have a listen to this rapturous applause for this kid coming off the ground. Bang. Good finish. Jesse White thrilled to be on the end of that one.
He was like a cannonball attacking this, Kieran Jack.
He's got to be one of the most improved players in the competition, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, he was the hero against the West Coast last year when these two teams met in round 8. Kicked the winning goal at ANZ Stadium with seconds left. Kennedy, the clearance for the Swans. Jesse White just kicked one, should be confident. Jude Bolton rolls it in the direction of Bradshaw, gathers, gives it up. Moore backtracks into trouble. Kirk from 40, 2 in a row, just as the West Coast were coming.
Well, that's going to hurt West Coast, because they had looked like they'd worked their way back in the contest, and then a couple of quick goals in the space of a minute. You do all that hard work, don't quite get the reward that you perhaps deserve. A decision or two goes against your way, and then Sydney go bang, bang. He's been pretty quiet today, Brett Kirk. It's been an interesting battle. He's kept Pritis just to the 13 possessions. He's only had 12 himself, but that's an important one, kicking a goal.
Yeah, it was a good, dangerous move, and Moore did well to get it away.
The one and only Brett Kirk loves playing Anzac Day weekend. John Worsfold has some problems now. The margin back to 27 points. And the ball up. Cox waited for Mumford, waited for the ball, gave it to Maston. Hands off to McGinnity. Can they get a reply? Kennedy manhandled and almost took the mark. LeCras threads his way back inside the corridor, kicks around the body, and it's across the face. And doesn't score.
He's had a bit of a horror in front of the goal. He's only got the one behind his name, but a couple have fallen short. He's got one that's been smothered, one that's gone out on the full.
Ty Kennelly.
But again, creating opportunities, West Coast.
It's a half Shepherd on the mark. Sends it wide. And spectacularly good. O'Keefe. On the third play on, he plays on. And Glass, strong mark.
Been a good battle between Glass and Bradshaw.
Yeah, especially after Bradshaw kicked those two first quarter goals. Hasn't kicked one since. Spanger. Stevenson. Over the head of Rosa, but this is okay. They peel to the open side. Schofield's the target for this kick. The smaller McVeigh on him. He takes the mark. Kennedy leads short. In his direction. Grundy out muscles and then outreads him.
Once again, we see the kicks. A lot of the kicks of the Eagles off half-back have way too much hang time. They don't have penetrating, spearing kicks, which means that generally the guys on the end of them have to run 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 metres wider to maintain their clear space on their man.
The other thing you've got to do too is you don't honour every lead-up target, because Grundy on that occasion was side by side with Kennedy on the lead. That's one you ignore and you look for someone moving into the space behind the lead.
Ty Kennelly told to move it on. McVeigh. "27 points, a lull. 18 minutes gone, third term. Game being played on the Swans' terms again. Ty Kennelly.
And look, they won't be phased by slowing things down and playing a bit of possession footy, Sydney, but unfortunately for West Coast, their kicking efficiency that we've discussed so much at this stage is only 54% in the third quarter, Jared, and that's a pretty deplorable level when you're trying to win a game of football.
Well, it means every second kick is going to either a neutral ball or hitting your opposition players.
Jetta just waited that on the right side of Jack.
You can't win games of footy with 54%, no matter how good your work rate is.
Called to play on, but if Hearn doesn't come at him, he's not compelled to kick. He does kick now, and that's spectacular as well. McVeigh.
And they're doing this all a little bit too easily, just holding it up and then identifying a one-out leading target.
Bradshaw punched away by Spanger. Race on. Bradshaw overruns it with a bit of help from Spanger. Critis into Kirk. Looked like he enjoyed that. Lee Colbert.
Big story down here. Craig Bolton's in a lot of trouble, boys. He, as you can see, foot up on ice. This is the incident on his heel. He's in the wars earlier today, had his hand strapped, but now it looks like his heel Achilles and could be a long-termer, boys.
Well, that's a bad region, Jared, to get an injury in.
I think he was pointing to his Achilles when he spoke to the doctor earlier on as well. Downstairs, Lee Colbert and Daniel Bradshaw takes the mark inside 50. We were just saying Darren Glass has done a good job on him, keeping him goalless since I think the 10-minute mark of the opening term.
Well, Glass was on white while that was going on.
Okay.
It was Spanger that was actually manning up on Bradshaw, which is a little bit confusing. You'd think you'd have your best defender on the best forward.
This for the biggest lead of the game. Bends it back the second way. Perfection again. They lead by 33.
Well, I'm not sure if that was a squeaky gate, Jason, but the floodgates will be the major concern here, because right now it is, I guess, all set for a huge victory by the Swans. If the resolve of the West Coast break, this could be a major blowout.
Starting to look better with every match, isn't he, Daniel Bradshaw?
Yep.
He had an interrupted pre-season, but he's getting fitter, more confident. He's going to start dominating games.
Three goals for the game, 14 goals for the season now. Daniel Bradshaw has been watching his old teammates up north do well. Swans look like a genuine contender too.
You'll be watching them a bit closer next week.
Yeah,
Mike.
absolutely. They'll go head to head here at the SCG, and we'll look forward to bringing it to you. Half-back flank. Waters loads up with the bomb. Lacroix, can he get a jump? Oh yeah, gets up there, can't bring it down. Off hands Mumford. Caught by Natanui, holding the ball. So an opportunity here for Nick Natanui. He wants to hand it off. Might be forced to have the shot himself. Kicked 3 goals this year.
Jeez, we don't see long bombs to centre half forward all that often in this day and age, but that was
not a bad ploy.
One from way back.
And he gets plenty on that. Wow. That is long and strong. Nick Natanui, inspiring.
I think the way West Coast are playing, sometimes it's not going to hurt them to kick it long to the contest, because what they did have at the contest, and it was Mark McCrath that brought the ball to ground, was they had even numbers. There's a pair underneath it, and there's a pair coming, and then there's a pair in front that are actually looking to rove the ball front and square. So you give yourself a chance, put it in an attacking position, and give the forwards a chance to get hold of the football. It ended up being a very good tackle from Nick Natanui that won the free kick and the goal.
Pretty good kick too.
Did live here in Sydney for a while, Nick Natanui. His mother Keitha and father Bowler moved to Sydney from Fiji initially before the family set up home in Western Australia. His first goal at the SCG. 27 points the margin.
Goods handy to be able to throw Adam Goods onto the ball.
Absolutely. O'Keefe wobbles it inside 50. Moore, Waters, Jetta, look out. He kicks around the body. High. Bradshaw. Use of the hands and body. Umpire said it was okay.
Yeah, that was
a little bit easier than you expect against someone like Darren Glass, Jared. He is very strong in the body, but Daniel Bradshaw held him off with ease and took a chest mark.
Yeah, I think the flight of the ball absolutely
had a bit of float on it, didn't it?
He was actually in the right position initially, and the ball just moved sideways.
For number 4, he's on track for his biggest bag for the Swans. Margin back to 33.
Off the boot, you could hear the Swans crowd all think that the ball was going straight through the middle, but by virtue of its odd shape, it started going sideways, and on the end of it, of course, was Daniel Bradshaw in that perfect position. You see there Glass trying to hold the space because he knew that it was going that way, and then it moved backwards, and he was completely out. Nice kicking at the present time from Bradshaw.
You said the floodgates might have opened. 33 points the margin, or the floods might be about to open here. Ominous looking black clouds at the SCG.
It was a hot, sticky day when we got here, and then I reckon it dropped 5 degrees pre-game while we were having a bit of a chat, and then all of a sudden it could get a lot wetter.
The old classic Southerly Buster on the way by the looks.
Yes, handy to have a
Buster.
Southerly Buster, Jared.
Yes,
I haven't heard that.
That's the local boy talking, of course.
The lexicon, yeah.
The one?
The lexicon.
That's the lingo.
Selwood Waters spears that and turns it over to Jude Bolton, who dropped the mark. Mops up his mess, handballs to Matner, gets it up to Moore, caught, one arm by Jones, free kick, play on advantage. Selwood spear, inside 50, overheads, Lewis Roberts Thompson, peels back, takes possession, and with ease, bounces it to Kieran Jack. Rose is with him, edges him out of the contest, keeps his feet, he's got the short on. Josh Kennedy didn't know it was going to be his. Mumford hurdles. Kennelly, Goods, confident at the moment, the Swans. O'Keefe. Moore. Brown got a fist on it. It's not 50. No, I think that's fair. Tempted to spoil. He could have taken the body with him. He wanted only ball. Moore thumps it to the square at the back. Glass over the top. Jesse White had another attempt for mark of the year.
You don't see that too often.
Ashton Hams.
One of the gun fullbacks saying, I think I can ride the pack here, Darren Glass.
And Colby, just looking at those flags, the wind has changed 180 degrees.
And so's the clouds, Jetta. I think the last quarter might be wet.
Brad Ebert.
How's your umbrella, Colby?
Don't have one as yet, Jace.
Josh Kennedy with emphasis on the as yet. Short to half forward. Kieran Jack chases, but the ball beats them all.
Always a good sign when you know when the wind changes midway through the last half and you end up with the, as the Swans are going to do, the wind for 3.5 quarters or 2.5 quarters instead of the 2.
As if enough hasn't gone against them luck-wise. Nat Nui gathers his own this time and loses it. McVeigh caught. Kirk. Good hands. Jude Bolton. Bounce kindly for him. Got a player in ball. That's ball. Brilliant pursuit.
He had Hanbury on his left. If he had have seen him, the hand pass would have released Hanbury. He could have run into the attacking 50 and had a shot for goal.
Embley down the corridor. Scott Selwood squirts it wide. Ashton Hams. Chip is perfect. So Schofield gets a rare chance to have a kick at goal. Well, Schofield hasn't kicked one this year.
Well, that's a very good effort, given that he's spent a lot of time on Adam Goods. He's pushed forward and taken Goods with him. Terrific chase by Andrew Embley. Took him around the waist, ball and all. And there's the pass from Dalziel, was it?
Ashton Hams.
He's a beauty.
Only one career goal for Will Schofield and still stands at only one in game number 18. In a horror day for the West Coast. 32 points as it stands right now. 2 minutes from three-quarter time. Grundy, good spoil from Ebert. Jack kept it alive. Back to Grundy, who cleverly rolls one either to the boundary line or Jude Bolton. Jude Bolton was close enough to make the umpire sure that wasn't deliberate.
We saw a replay of the tackle. Now have a look to the left of screen. Look at number 4 for Sydney, Hanbury. He gets the hand pass. He's away. Just a lack of peripheral vision there from Jude Bolton on that occasion.
Hanbury on cue, gets it to Lewis Roberts Thompson, to Jetta. Short over Jude Bolton's head and through the hands of Jones. And makes his mess even worse. Embley mops it up. Cox. Here we go with the long bomb. Throws it up high. And Maston can't get near it. Hearn. Caught by Moore. Was that a legitimate handball? No. Didn't make contact with his fist. 75-43.
But again, the long kick to a one-out contest created an opportunity. They hit it there front and square. Shannon Hearn got the ball in his hands first and foremost. It was just a very good tackle. It prevented him from having a scoring opportunity.
Shaw was the target. Through his hands, Seaby, Cox, old friends, will go at it again. They've been good this year, the Sydney Swans. They lost round 1 to St Kilda by 8 points, but that form has proven to be very good Won all 3 games since, Adelaide, Richmond and North Melbourne. All struggling teams in some way that they've beaten in the last 3 weeks, but they've got a tough run coming and they're on track for a win here. After this one, they play Brisbane here, Geelong at Skilled Stadium, and then the Bulldogs. So some tough opposition to come for the Swans.
Paul Roos, boys, just yelling at Adam Goodes, get behind the ball for the last minute of this quarter.
Don't want to concede a late goal. They've got this one to lose at the moment.
Well, the good thing is his opponent Schofield's gone down there with him, and we saw him have a shot for goal just before. So whilst Goodes might be behind the footy, Schofield's got to put himself in positions that are dangerous.
Cox getting the footy. They've got to get the big bloke up and about, because he hits more targets than most of their midfield.
Selwood got it from Brown, gives it towards Lacroix. Again manhandled, but not enough by Lewis Roberts-Thompson to give a free away. Maston over it, gone.
He's got to learn. I mean, that's the rule. Yeah. He's dragged it in. He's frustrated, but he's got to do better than that.
Yeah, whether you agree with the rule or not, the point is it is the rule. Three-quarter time here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and the Sydney Swans fans have found some voice. They haven't got this one just yet, but it's not far away. 11-9-75 to the West Coast. 6-7-43.
You speak of rebuilds, I think that was the view of the West Coast, that they were a good way down the rebuild track, finished the season pretty well last year, and yet first 5 weeks of this season they may have to rethink just exactly where they're at.
Yeah, complete renovation perhaps, if not rebuild. Waters attacks it well. Nice attack. Scott Selwood, Prentice, and he hit the target. Roberts-Thompson's been solid.
It's good to see Waters up in the forward line. They've got to throw something around. No point continuing to do the same stuff 3 quarters, 4 quarters in a row and expecting a different result. Just to have Waters smashing into it there off the half forward line and maybe adding a little bit of pressure in that forward line may be a key to the future.
Shaw's kick is perfect. O'Keefe fumbled the mark but takes off regardless. Long to the goal square. Bradshaw's down there, another test of strength. Off hands, Jude Bolton, clever handball. Kieran Jack misses. Only behind. Good build-up though. Start this final term. This will be the last time Paul Roos coaches against the West Coast Eagles. They don't play again this year, these two teams, presuming of course they won't meet in the finals. He holds an 8-7 record, 1 win ahead of John Worsfold. That looks like becoming 9-7.
And a big job for Nick Smith, who's been put onto Lacroix in this final term. Kid in his 14th game of footy, back into the side this week.
Yeah, replaced Ben McGlynn, who didn't get dropped, of course. He was injured and was in outstanding form. So it's going to be tough for him to retain his spot. But that's exactly what Paul Roos said in the press this week. The beauty is you have to be good if you're young to get your spot. You don't just get it given to you because you need experience. You get it given to you because you deserve it.
And we bumped into Benny McGlynn in the hallways here as we made our way up this afternoon. He's hoping to be back in a couple of weeks.
There is Nick Smith, Scotch College boy and from Oakley. Mumford trying to shuffle it out. Heard the umpire trying to encourage them to get it out. Nothing doing. 76-43. Early stages, final term. Cox and Mumford. Mumford got the majority of his palm on it. Down to Matner, caught, just got a handball away in time. Josh Kennedy, Kirk, Jude Bolton, Matner. Almost kickable from there, disciplined kick though. Bradshaw and Glass with the fist. Dumps it clear. Moore gets there first. Fantastic commitment. Gets it up to Bradshaw. Almost a throw to Shaw. Open hand, handball. Shaw finishes it off.
Also, they would have been looking for that, Sydney. The early start put West Coast away. Then if they drop off, you get a chance to really rack up a big score and build up the percentage. It was a terrific kick from Marty Mattner. Rather than blazing away from a 1 in 100 shot running around the boundary from deep out on the flank, he centred the ball to a dangerous position. Question marks over the Daniel Bradshaw hand pass. He got the benefit of the doubt. Looked very, very iffy. Oh!
They have had luck roll their way all day, the Sydney Swans. And that Daniel Bradshaw handball, not necessarily out of the copybook, but it comes off. You can't a handball with an open hand if you're watching from the Northern States and you're new to the game. Great to have you if you are. Josh Kennedy gives to Kirk. Kicks to half forward. And getting back Jones.
Was it an open hand, do you think?
I thought it was, but it certainly wasn't on the palm of his hand. It certainly
it was in the air.
I thought he punched it,
Yeah.
but I thought the ball was bobbling around his hand, so it was a little throw onto the fist.
Okay.
And he didn't control it at all. We might take another look at that in a moment, because I think it was questionable.
Hearn called to play on, and just whilst moving backwards, kicks it 40 metres. Off the hands of Selwood. Grundy down there with him. Kennedy can't grab it. And the ball rolls out of play. Okay, let's have a look
at that hand pass again. Now, hasn't got control of it.
That's open hand.
And he never had control of it. I think it's a throw on a couple of fronts.
Double penalty.
Yes.
That wind's dropping, Colby. I'd be getting nervous if I was you.
I'm very, very nervous, and I know you'd like to be laughing up there.
No, not at all, mate. We feel for you.
And that Prentice dragged down. Dark clouds hovering over the SCG. Round 5, Anzac round. Sydney Swans fans that have come.
There's no lightning coming, will it?
Look like enjoying a good victory.
There's a photographer's flash over there, Jason.
I hope it was.
It was a big flash he's got.
Spanger. He hasn't had much to flash at today. There haven't been many big highlights. Spanger tries to create one here. Gone. The highlight was the tackle for holding the ball. Mattner dragged him down, and no chance of getting rid of it. Look, took him on.
And held his hand. That was just the most magnificent tackle. He had no chance. In fact, it's questionable why he thought he would get around him.
The Kai kid, Marty Mattner, sends it wide. Jesse White can't take the mark. Close to the boundary. And stays alive. Waters hugs the line. Inside 50. Schofield, that's out on the full. Off the boot of Lewis Roberts-Thompson. So the free kick will go to Schofield, tucked up against the fence.
Well, he's had 2 shots and he's missed everything both times. This one's the most difficult. It'll probably go through.
From the gutter.
I don't think I'd be backing it in, Jared. The way they've kicked the ball today, West Coast.
There's a no-loss situation here, though, isn't it? So they become the easier ones to kick. Bends it. And
True to form. Form held.
From Will Schofield.
It's funny because they've engaged in so many absorbing contests, these two teams, in recent years, yet this one just didn't get going. It's lacked some sort of intensity throughout the course of the day, hasn't it?
Yes. It has. It's been it's looked as if it's been a matter of course all along since the first 3 or 4 minutes. It's looked as if it was just going to be a Sydney victory the whole time.
Off the ball, no hold.
Umpire barking instructions again. Cox tried the clever palm down. Goods. Grundy on the back pocket. No one to go to. In fact, goes for the boundary line, and Brown was waiting for it.
In fact, I guess if anything's been a surprise, Jason, it's the margin.
Prentice. You think it should be bigger?
A lot bigger.
Lacroix with Nick Smith tried to get a clever knuckle on the ball and did so.
Last couple of matches between these two teams decided by a kick. We were hoping for a similar sort of scenario today, but it's looked like it could be 10 goals plus at plenty of different stages throughout the course of the first 3 quarters.
Mumford flick back. Prentice dives in. And yet another ball up. Brett Kirk being helped up. His grandfather, Wally Morass, fought at Kokoda in the 39th Battalion, Brett Kirk, and loves playing on Anzac weekend. Loves representing his club and his family. Ty Kennelly backtracks. Adam Goods.
Interesting.
Looks it over the top. Smith waited till he was slung in Goods' direction, and Goods' kick is poor, and this man can make the distance. Shannon Hearn back into the team this week. Game 3 for the year. Runs around and loads up and sends it long, very long, and it might be there, just inside the padding.
Been a long time coming, a straight kick by the Eagles, and it took Shannon Hearn, one of their running half-backs, to do it. He's a thumping kick, and it was an error from the Sydney Swans. There was a little bit of pressure in defence. They tried to run it out. Adam Goods was involved in the play with a couple of others. Ty Kennelly got himself in a few tight corners down there. Eventually Goods got free, tried to chip it over the top. Has it hit the post?
I reckon it's hit the post. It's just hit the padding.
No.
No?
First goal for Shannon Hearn. Hasn't been a great afternoon at the office, his return. But
I was watching Lewis Roberts-Thompson. His first reaction to the goal umpire was it hit the post.
Thought it hit the padding. Just clipped the padding at the top, Jared, you thought?
Well, that's what I thought I saw in the replay, but we'll have another look.
Nick Natanui back into the ruck. He's had a spell and he wins it. Thumps it to half forward.
Wouldn't be the first full-back to claim it hit the post, though.
That's a good point. Natanui through traffic. Gets the handball away, trying to create something. Spanger, he kicks across the face.
Not sure why it was around the corner. Plenty of time to straighten up. Let's have another look at this. Whether or not it just clips that padding, it looks like it did to me.
Ooh. Umpire's in a better position than us.
A beautiful spot, isn't he?
Well, what about that angle?
He's in a beautiful spot, the goal umpire. A beautiful spot.
I reckon Lewis Roberts-Thompson was in the best spot.
I know fullbacks that call point every time a ball's kicked right through the middle of the goalpost.
You don't think that hit the post?
No. I'm back in the goal umpire.
Smith gives it to Shaw. Long ball. Jesse White sniffed the mark of the year opportunity there. Couldn't quite get there for the jump. Glass stayed behind. Stevenson. It was a kick off the side of the boot from the first gamer. Attack by Schofield. And a ball in. Lewis Stevenson, whose mum Ruth and dad Bruce came up here to see his first game today, and haven't been a good afternoon for them. Now, did that hit it or not?
Clearly the tape operators in the bus think it hit the post.
Beautifully positioned with his eyes tracking it all the way, that goal umpire.
Seaby. Malcheski just with the one paw. Adam Goods gets there and can't mark. Through the legs, Dalziel made it tough for Pritis. Slung. Kirk, ball alive again. Kieran Jack try and create something. Bradshaw in a tangle. Gets there. Can't mark it. Goes off the deck. Roll. Tumble. Dribble. Fantastic to watch. He's got 5.
And while this was such a smart goal, was that Bradshaw just had a feel for the occasion. He could have bent over and picked it up, thinking that he'd beaten his man and therefore he was clear. But his experience told him that somebody else had to be closing. Maybe he caught him out of the corner of his own eye, and decided just to go off the ground. A great individual effort.
Got the nice old bounce, and that one didn't hit the post.
Best day at the office yet for the Sydney Swans, Daniel Bradshaw, and it's not over yet.
No, you really think he's only going to get better as they become more accustomed to him and really start to read the way that he leads and moves. And it's going to be an exciting season for him in Sydney.
It's good ground for full forwards too, the SCG, because often the ball goes straight over the centre half forward's head, and he's becomes even more of a focal point.
They had a big bloke that did okay up here for a while, didn't they?
He just cleared the whole
60 odd, yeah. Get out and just kick it to me.
Well, they hated him here for a while, but then they loved him.
Until he became one of their own.
That's exactly right, which is fair enough too.
Good handball.
Selwood gets it out. The wobbly kick from Dalziel. Kennelly got a knuckle on it. Lewis Roberts-Thompson through traffic. They just keep taking the game on. Grundy to Jetta, and he can go. Rosa trying hard to bridge the gap.
This is
Jenner
exciting.
with the jets on, runs the wing. The crowd roar, sends the pass. Goods caught behind. Spanger does well.
Does very well that time.
He runs the wing, sends it even wider. Ashton Hams, little spin. Two Swans collide there. Ashton Hams gives to Waters. Opportunity here for a late one for the Swan, for the West Coast. LaCroix off hands. Kennedy. LaCroix tried to go off the deck and ball out of play. 88 to 50.
Wasn't this an exciting run? And Matt Rosa, no slouch, he's giving it his all. One of the funny things about this run is after the ball was turned over, it came back. These two had to turn around and run the other way. There wasn't a lot of juice left in the tank.
Quick snap from Kennedy, and he's kicked the goal against the run of play.
Three goals to Josh Kennedy. It hasn't been a classic day by any stretch of the imagination, but he's battled hard, Jared.
I reckon he's a great pickup for the West Coast. He's a worker. He hasn't got a great midfield to work in front of. They're workmanlike at best in there. And I think he presents and runs himself into the ground. You'd love to be playing with Josh Kennedy, and he is one that they can certainly build a future around, the West Coast Eagles. And I like the look of Waters in the forward line.
Quick snap. 3 goals for Josh Kennedy. 32 points the margin. 88 to 56.
Been a good move, this one. I think Waters into the forward line. He's got that long penetrating left foot. He's a big body and he likes using it.
Play on.
Ball stuck in the centre circle, going nowhere. Fair bit of time left. Only 14-minute mark of the final term.
Don't hold on. I'm going to throw it up.
But we won't insult your intelligence by saying that the West Coast Eagles are a chance, because you would doubt from 32 points down against the run of play. Sydney Swans have had this one in their keeping for quite a while. Cox jumps in, ball shuffled out.
In the back.
In the back, play on advantage if they want to.
Just heard the umpire a minute ago, so I'm going to throw it up. It's getting very breezy, I think he said. So maybe the rain is imminent.
Stay clear. Play on.
Malcheski.
Coming up to round 6 for the Eagles, Jason, and I reckon the question has got to be asked again. What's happening with the big cue stick, Quentin Lynch, and whether or not it's not time to bring him back, even in the midfield, where he has played a fair bit of footy. Here again, Waters.
Nat Nui in a one-on-one at full forward. Roberts Thompson, Nat Nui got hands on it. Nick Smith dives in.
He did the good body work, Nat Nui.
He had it.
And everything right. It just didn't have maybe the experience to finish it off. Roberts Thompson wide. Kieran Jack takes them on. Oh, he sidestepped 3. Inboard to Malcheski. They love using the corridor. Adam Goods props, feeds back onto it. Snap coming up. He's got the runner. Jude Bolton gives it. Bolton's got Jesse White. They are playing with them. They can bring out the 100,000 sandwiches.
Well, it was almost like a training drill, the way they walked that into the goals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a good long kick after some excellent work across half-back. Kieran Jack, he just keeps impressing, doesn't he? He's up to 23 possessions. He's kicked a fantastic running goal after he had 3 bounces through the corridor and some sensational sidestepping release. Malcheski, he kicked it over into space for Goods. Goods centred the ball to Bolton. Bolton to White, and just strolls in for the easiest of goals. This is a clever kick, this. I thought he'd go for the miracle snap, but he was just trying to pass it to Bolton.
You mentioned the old days before, Jared. You would get dragged for a kick with the outside of your foot like that in the old days, trying to manufacture something. Certainly,
Well,
Dad would have told you off in the backyard.
He had the bounce right as well.
Absolutely. Mumford.
Really important now for the Eagles just to find something, because the resistance looks like it's broken.
Jesse White, he gives it to Goods. Well, Goods gave it to him earlier. White repays the favour.
Just too easy now, straight through the middle. And Paul Roos is going to rack up his 4th win of the season to put a great base underneath their attempt to make the finals in his last year as a coach. Here it is again, the big Mumford coming through and getting his own clearance. Good hands as well from Jesse White. He's a slow riser, Jesse White, but he just keeps showing that he's improving week after week.
You're right, Jared. He has the odd dead spot in his game, doesn't he, Jesse White?
Yep. But it's a nice handball. It's a handball that suggested he was completely aware of what was going on around him. And he looks like a real fine. Bring that one back, umpire.
Had to. The other ruckman that can't get near it has to give it up and just stare at the umpire to try and
force him into
concede.
the recall.
Yeah. So toss up. The mummy rises and will get his own clearance again here. Hands it off to McVeigh. Bangs another bomb. Jesse White's down there. Almost got the hands to it. Jude Bolton. They've got a bit of a spark at the moment, the Swans. They can sniff blood. They're having some fun. Spanger turns into Jetta. Hands it over. Josh Kennedy. Moore. McVeigh spins out of trouble. Adam Goods runs around. Gives it up. Kennedy. The fans are enjoying every single bit of it.
Well, the whip's out. It's turned into a nice old flogging, and this has probably only been a matter of time. Could have happened earlier in the piece, but the Eagles hung on by virtue of a bit of work rate in the third quarter and also an accuracy by the Swans in the second. But this handball from Spanger coming up leaves a lot to be desired. Nice little give here too by the skipper.
"13 games for Hawthorn, Josh Kennedy, and has played every game this year since crossing from the Hawks. They just keep making silk purses out of sow's ears, the Sydney Swans recruiters. Nat Nui, big thump to half forward. Embley lost it. Mumford again. Kennedy, not that he was a sow's ear necessarily, but certainly treated with more respect here at the Sydney Swans than he was at Hawthorn. Maybe injury got him there as well. McVeigh twists and turns with McGinnity. Ball back alive again. Maston. Can he make something of it here? Spears the pass. Embley. Open forward line. Cox is on the move. Roberts Thompson with him. Cox hands to it. Roberts Thompson wins again.
Had a pretty good game, Roberts Thompson.
See, that looked deliberate too from Shaw, but not enough West Coast Eagles fans to call for the deliberate free. He has had a great game, Lewis Roberts Thompson.
There's amazing weight of possession in this match in Sydney's favour. I'll tell you those numbers in a minute.
Ball knocked down to Jude Bolton. Had it, lost it, dropped it, gave it up. Critis. His snap across the face. Hearn almost. Make that Hearn, yes. Can feed around and kick his second at this end for the term. Behind.
Have a look at this for a big thump. Nick Natanui just jumps up and goes smash. Those possessions we're talking about are absolutely enormous. More than 120 extra possessions. In fact, it's 371 to Sydney to 250. The West Coast Eagles, an extra 121 possessions. And through all that, the inside 50s are 47 to Sydney, 48 to West Coast. Isn't that extraordinary?
Now, that was a look-away kick there from fullback Ty Connelly to Shaw. Roberts Thompson. Good day at the office again from him. Jesse White has worked his way into this contest. Pops it to Jude Bolton. Been a craftsman of the highest calibre, Jude Bolton, for this Sydney Swans team. Mumford thumps it down. Hanbury. Macnar ran into a gang tackle. Nick Smith gave it back to Hanbury. Bradshaw, he was on his own for some reason. And he can line up for number 6.
I'm not sure where Darren Glass was. He gets back and stands the mark now. He might have got caught watching the ball. Looked like he drifted up the field a little bit, and Bradshaw had just ducked back into a pocket of space. And luck's a fortune. It's just a quick, indiscriminate kick. You can see Glass backtracking from the 50. He was up ready to give support and have numbers around the contest, but the quick kick found him out.
Nice off the boot. Spears that through. The margin out to 55.
And Daniel Bradshaw, he just looks very comfortable at the present time as basically the number 1 man for probably the first time in his career, because when Alistair Lynch retired, he became the number 1 man with Brown. But on this Sydney cricket ground, I think he's going to have an extraordinarily successful period of time here with the Swans.
Six goals now for Daniel Bradshaw for the game, his biggest haul in Swans colours, and we're safe to say that this run of close contest between these two teams is over. Cox, Seaby, Selwood, manhandled off it. A couple of Selwoods there. Scott helped get it out to Adam, and it's all Swans at half back. The bouncing ball made it tough for sure, but he had the time. Kieran Jack, difficult handball for Grundy. Josh Kennedy with him. Grundy, a little toe poke. Mount Chesky. West Coast getting players around this now all of a sudden. Ashton Hams can sniff a goal. Pops it. Roberts Thompson again in the hole. When we talked about Anzac Day weekend always being big for Brett Kirk, it's big for Lewis Roberts Thompson too. His grandfather, Athol, World War II veteran from Japan and Borneo. Lewis Roberts Thompson loves being out there on Anzac weekend. Massive weekend across Australia it is, and it's been a big day for Mark Seaby against his old team as well. Moore thought about playing on quickly. 23 minutes gone final term. Another 7 minutes of pain plus time on coming up for the West Coast. Hands it off to Mount Chesky. Long bomb. McVeigh from 4 deep. Forced to spoil at least. Scott Selwood, Pritis in trouble again. Waters. And a couple running for him. A small kick from Jones.
The Swans haven't got one player on the list of 22 who's had less than 10 possessions, and the Eagles have got 7 players who haven't made 10 possessions.
Nick Smith has bounced down the wing with ease. Jesse White flies. Good grab. May have hurt himself.
He landed heavily. That's a good strong grab though. Good clean hands from Jesse White.
His left knee is going to be the only question. He grabbed for it initially, but just have a look. He gets a big rotation.
Spun around, doesn't he? Oh, that's a lot of weight crashing to the ground.
4th season on the list for Jesse White. Picked 79 back in 2006 draft. Former basketballer, yet another tall from the Gold Coast. Southport boy.
He loves kicking a goal.
But
have a look at his reaction.
You said, Jared, the injuries are never quite as bad when you've got a shot for goal, are they?
He enjoys a goal. Not this time.
No, across the face, and no one gets a chance to go at it. Another behind. 56 points, the biggest margin of the game.
He'd be another Mark Browning recruit who has been such a contributor to AFL footy, hand-picking athletes from other sports and moving them into the draft. The Swans, of course, on the receiving end of this one, but many others around the traps.
Selwood wide. Dalziel can't afford fumbles like that. The man they called Razzle Dazzle, Dalziel, when he was with the Brisbane Lions, his first 5 games were record-breaking in terms of number of possessions for a player in his first 5 games of AFL footy. Hasn't been a big day for him today, though. Free kick here for the West Coast to Dean Cox. Lacroix turns around, gets it. Centering kick, disciplined kick. Roberts Thompson's fist wins again. Maston ran into trouble and got 1 for 2 high.
Late whistle.
Have a shot.
A very late whistle from the umpire. The crowd don't like it, but Chris Marston will get the benefit of the decision. Does he go high? Yes, no doubt. The left arm goes over the shoulder.
Obviously thought the number 13 was unlucky. Has gone for Chad Fletcher's old number 7 this year. And that's a lean day at the office. But he gets himself a consolation prize with a late goal.
Yeah, it's a real low for Chris Marston. It'd be almost impossible for a midfielder to get under 10 possessions, but given the amount of time he gets on the ball, well, he's now racked up 11 and kicked the goal, as you saw. but he has had a pretty average one, and he'll need to respond to that next week. He comes up against the Dockers. Because on this showing, the Dockers will give them an embarrassing clean-up.
New artwork as well on the arm. Jude Bolton with him. 4.5 minutes from full time.
Don't hold off it.
Cox back into the ruck. Mumford there too. Both miss it completely. Mumford, well, back pass there to Jude Bolton. Ty Kennelly playing up forward. Gets an opportunity here. Taps it over. McVeigh might be forced to give it back. Waters tackled him. Out of play. And get a ball in. Big game for the West Coast next week, the Derby. Then Hawthorn at Subiaco, so back-to-back Subiaco games at least for the West Coast. Kennedy, Kirk. Kennedy ridden a bit by Pritis. Maston. Dalziel. Adam Selwood.
Well, he has a fair dinkum go each and every week. I see Adam Selwood playing. He makes some mistakes, but you know you can't question his effort. He needs similar response from everyone around him.
Jetta to Jude to Seaby. Tries to hand it off. Waters can take it through for a behind. Elected not to. Rose of the target. Hits him. Long bomb. Hearn can go if he wants. He's got the spare man over the top. Short pass is good.
Right on it, Nick.
Ashton Hams. Pick 40 in Summers rookie draft. So started the year on the rookie list. Ashton Hams. Can't find a target. Marty Mattner sells the dummy to Schofield. Josh Kennedy. Short. Doing as they like at the moment, the Swans.
It's going to be a pretty sobering review when they sit down and watch this tape. The West Coast Eagles, the number of targets that they missed by foot when players were seemingly under no pressure. They had time to make the right decision, time to execute the skill, but they have just absolutely torched so much football by foot.
I reckon they'll be a little bit concerned about their pressure as well, Jason. I think that they've had such a discrepancy between their best pressure, which was in the third quarter, and the average stuff they've dished up for most of the other time.
Yep.
I reckon there'll be a few blokes asked to justify their positions in the side.
Grundy's good commitment leads to Shaw sending it wide. Lewis Roberts Thompson and Nick Smith, who can get and go here. Jude Bolton's over the top. Sees him now. Hits him with the pass. And that was, or has been all day, the West Coast problem. Haven't been able to play on quickly with a precise pass. Kennelly playing up forward. Uses the body. Feeds back onto it. Centering kick. Seaby under it. Can't pluck the mark. Spanger knocks it down. Seaby got a toe on it. Out to behind.
Already looking forward to next week's Brisbane versus Swans game. It's going to tell us a little bit about both sides as to just how far up the ladder we can expect them to be.
Tough ball to mark from the kick in. Dalziel made it okay. Takes on Jetta. A daring thing to do. Jones. And now Lacroix. No arm slap free. Play on the umpire said. Mumford caught. Almost dropped it. Good couple of tackles from Nick Natanui.
And good work from Nick Smith as well.
Absolutely. Kieran Jack stripped it. He stripped it. Wasn't just a tackle. It was the stripping tackle. Handball over the top. Hanbury's away. Good chance here. Sends it long. Goal square. CB. Free kick.
Adam Goods was all on his own, and young Hanbury did not see him. He was 30 out directly in front, waving the arms. Nobody within 20 metres of him.
Hard to believe he missed him.
That's right. He's not the kind of player you would miss all that easily, Adam Goods.
He wasn't happy after he was overlooked either. Have a look at Adam Goods here. He kicks to the square, but on the left of screen, you'll see Adam Goods waving the arms all on it. And another one. There was another Swan a little further out. Might have been McVeigh. And he looked back very quickly.
Jason?
Perhaps. Maybe they're all trying to get in the scorebook.
Kirk ducks into that tackle and wins it for too high.
134 more possessions. This will be 135 the difference now. Sydney 412 possessions to the Eagles 278, but just one more inside 50.
Turns 34 years of age this year, Brett Kirk. been an outstanding leader of this club, given that he was sent back to Albury and told he was not good enough at the start of his career. Invited back down as a fill-in to play in the reserves and simply didn't give up the dream. And the dream again is alive this season for the Sydney Swans. He misses, but they are a contender again in Paul Roos' last season as coach. 52 points. 17-goal afternoon for the Sydney Swans. Rosa, little bump on goods, but they just didn't have the goods today, the West Coast. The long run of close contests between these two proud clubs, recent premiers, but the close run is over. The Sydney Swans, emphatic victors by 52 points, with Daniel Bradshaw, the star of the show, kicking 6 goals, 17-13, 115 to the West Coast Eagles, 9-9-63. They won every quarter, led by 7 at quarter time, 22 at half time, 32 at three-quarter time. And Lee Colbert is downstairs with one of the stars of the show.
Brady, you're starting to look comfortable in these colours, mate. You got some nice footy in there today from McVeigh and the like.
Oh, mate, the boys up the field, they make it, pretty easy for us forwards. We're just getting on the end of it at the moment. And, we've really been struggling to play 4 quarters, and I think we did that tonight. And, yeah, it's paid off.
How are those kids going to you?